What makes Wuthering Waves combat feel so awesome? I wanted to make this video a few days earlier, but I've unfortunately found my new addiction in this game. It's flashy, it's well animated, and best of all, the combat is extremely satisfying and it's just downright fun. But with Wuthering Waves, I really like the direction they took with their combat, putting a huge amount of emphasis on the moment-to-moment aspect of its action in a way that has a low skill floor, but an even higher skill ceiling that allows for phenomenal skill expression in a way I don't often see. Before I delve deeper though, I should probably lay down a foundation for what I'm about to talk about, starting with the tools you get for fighting. You choose a team of 3 characters, and on the basic level, each character has a light attack, heavy attack, dodge, parry, skill attack, and ultimate move. And you can tag in between these characters at almost any time to adapt to the situation, or even combo into each other. There isn't much in the way of defensive options besides guarding outside of key character skills, which helps to emphasize the reliance on timing and aggression. And how Wuthering Waves puts all this together is how it turns into some of the coolest action gameplay I've had on a mobile title. Like with this parry mechanic just for starters. Timing your attack to an enemy attack that has a closing circle in them will result in a parry, which will take off a chunk of an enemy attacker bar under their HP, as well as leave them briefly open to attack. A well-timed parry can also help you interrupt an enemy's combo or even skip devastating mechanics. The sound and effects of it are also incredibly satisfying, especially when you feel yourself in the zone. Tying this to an attack also adds an element of risk and reward. Miss, and the one who's left open and almost guaranteed to take a hit is you. And it also makes it where you don't have to completely stop what you're doing, like say your combo, to time it. The coolest part about the parry mechanic though to me is that almost every attack, if timed correctly, can parry. That means your ultimates, skills, even character tag-ins. Some might say this makes it easier, and it does, to some extent, but I also think it does a lot more. This puts the decision of what to use in the moment in the player's hands. When you see a parryable attack coming your way, before it hits you, you can make the decision you feel is optimal for the moment, or even continue your team's combo rotation if you're skilled enough to have the timing. If you use an attack that has left you vulnerable, you can tag in your character in with their attack at the right time to cover them and rectify a possible mistake. You can then keep up your aggression and combo from there with that character and take advantage of that opening. It's actually pretty smooth how well these characters flow into each other. Add in the perfect dodge mechanic, which opens up certain types of attacks for characters or accelerates combos, and you have an insane level of complexity when it comes to your rotation that becomes adaptable and optimized via openings you find or create. There's even an element of skill expression that can come out of when fighting the more difficult fights. Instead of simply mashing my buttons willy-nilly and just trying to shoot through whatever combo rotation I have for my team, I would find myself acting in tempo with the boss's moves, timing burst windows and moves to parries that break the boss's stagger bar, timing my next character swap in my rotation to advantageous or even life-saving moments. I almost felt like I would be in a dance with the boss the more aggressive I wanted to be, and to enter this kind of flow state and defeat a hard fight that way felt all the more rewarding. Like I not only won, but mastered the dance that is this fight itself. Oh, and the flashy slow-mo finish is just a cherry needed on top. They should honestly consider adding the option to have this at the end of every boss fight. And all that is just from me talking about the parry mechanic and a little bit about the perfect dodge. I still haven't gotten into how you can time your character swaps to some of the character's certain attacks to essentially fight with more than one unit on the field at once. Or even the ecosystem, which opens up a whole other door of possibilities when it comes to your team strategy. You've also got people posting videos online of them juggling mobs like it's Devil May Cry. The way they have the basic fundamentals of combat down in this game makes the combat not only feel satisfying and impactful, but also free-flowing and full of player decision-making and skill expression. And every successful decision is rewarded with an awesome and stylish action. I think what really helps is just how well telegraphed and well done a lot of these bosses are. Their telegraphs animations are beautifully choreographed to the point where even some of the faster bosses still felt fair to track and fight. I could tell what the boss was going to do and even time dodges when it was my first time seeing the attack, which is something I really appreciate. I don't think there was a time where the boss would wind up its tail only to then hit me with a roundhouse kick, or, and even worse of manner to me, hit me with a fast-hitting combo I wouldn't know what would come after unless I saw the attack for the first few times. Bosses will instead telegraph their combos in ways that make sense and even characterize their fight. If the monster winds its hand low and back, it's going to hit you with a hook. If he raises his hands above his head, he's probably going to slam them down. There's none of that twisty twirly crap I've come to notice in other action games. And if there isn't an indicator via body language, there's usually a visual cue or a sound cue to watch out for and time your next action to. There may be some exceptions I've yet to run into or cannot remember off the top of my head, but I think overall these bosses are very well put together, and the spectacle of some of them really does a good job of taking these to another level of fun and engaging. So let's summarize some things real fast. The parry and dodge systems adds an element of skill to player decision making I don't often see. It doesn't just ask you to be reactive, it also asks you to go the extra mile and be proactive, timing your moves in sync with the fight until you throw your opponent off step. The free flow of the combat and how characters combo into each other is the key part that really allows the player's agency I've described. There's no QTEs telling you the optimal time to switch characters or use abilities. Every choice is yours and your timing and success is yours. The flashy and stylish animations set home the satisfaction of the gameplay. And the viability of every character and the ecosystem add an additional element of player agency in deciding how you enter fights in the first place. But I would be lying if I said I didn't have my gripes, like the lock-on system. This thing can bug out at times and fail to track enemies. A consistent example of it failing me is when a boss manages to shoot between me and the camera. This can often make it awkward to fight the boss, but fortunately this is not super often I had this issue. The lock-on will also just kind of stop tracking a boss altogether when performing certain attacks, like Jinshin's hold ability. It will start tracking again about a second after your ability is done, but I often like to time the release to a parry, and it's hard to do that if the boss happens to move off screen to attack. Also, sometimes certain parryable boss attacks can feel a bit strange to try and parry. Like, some of these attacks will consistently miss me if I go for the parry, so we just end up whizzing past each other. But other than those two things, I don't really have too many issues currently when it comes to combat. Instead, all I have left are hopes that the devs behind the game will continue to remain consistent with its combat with the introduction of new characters and content, if not downright improve, which is something I honestly have no doubts about. And I can easily see this game becoming one of my top mobile action games for some time if they can keep this up. So if you play the game yourself, what did you think? Did you have as much fun as I did, or maybe it was underwhelming to you? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed the video, it would mean a lot if you left a like and subscribe for more. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.